Welcome to the John and Rick Talk All About Insurance podcast, the show where two good old boys with over 80 years of combined experience pull back the curtain on what really works in the insurance world. Join John Smith, industry legend, marathon runner, and top producing agent for nearly 4 decades, and Rick Witcher, proud farmer, regional director, and lifelong relationship builder, as they share stories from the field, interview real agents, and show you how to build a business and a life you love. This ain't corporate. This is real talk from real agents, with a whole lot of laughs, straight up wisdom, and the occasional rabbit trail. Now, here they are, John and Rick.
All right, we're rolling in live. Guess who's back? Back again. John and Rick, tell your friends. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess. All right, it's John and Rick talking insurance and other things. I'm John.
And I'm Rick.
Today we've got a nice show for you today. We've got a guest joining us, Stephanie Holmes. Rick, you've known Stephanie for a while.
She came in spite of being married to you.
Well, I was going to say she's my betrothed, but I was gonna hold that off for a little bit. So I always have to say nice things about her. Usually I always do anyway. But I'll let you ask some questions, Rick. Why don't you start?
All right. Well, Steph, how long have you been in the business?
Been in business for almost 26 years. I've worked for a management consulting company before this and saw the end coming to that company and decided I wanted to get into sales.
And you were in the property and casualty business, I think, at first, right?
First, I started out selling just group health insurance and then decided I could be all things to all people and decided to branch out into property and casualty and realized that it's completely different. So
let's explore that for a minute, because I don't know, John, I don't think you ever did that, but I did. I was at one time just what you said that made me think about it. And I think we ought to talk about that to people, because everyone thinks they want to branch out and be everything to everyone. And typically you're everything to everyone, but you're not making any money. Am I right?
I think it's that. And in my opinion, you need to be an expert at something instead of pretty good at everything.
You can't be a jack of all trades, because then you're a master of none.
That's right.
I think that's right.
That's an important point. I'm glad that came up, because we are talking to folks and trying to explain to them, everyone wants to do everything in this business, and it's difficult. Well, tell us more about you as far as before you met him. No? Before John.
Yeah, I call it before John.
Yeah.
No, I have 2 boys who are both married. One has 4 children now, and one has 2. And then John has a son and daughter, which I claim as my own now. Michaela is married and has a daughter, and Wilson is engaged, and she has a daughter as well. Then we have Courtney, who is not really our daughter, but we claim her, and she's married and has 2 precious little boys as well. So we have lots of grandchildren to go visit.
Yep. Oh,
Paul and Mimi.
Yes.
yeah. Well, how did you told us how you started out, and how did you start selling health insurance?
It's kind of a funny story. Once I decided to get in this business, there's a gentleman that I'd known for years and years, and I picked up a phone, called Jeff, and said, I think I want to sell insurance. So my training consisted of, here's a telephone book and a telephone, start calling people and setting appointments.
Well, you know what? That's something we talked about on another podcast, John.
Yeah.
And honestly, that really works. It works to this day. I mean, it works, didn't it?
Well, yeah, I wish I'd had a little more training, but it worked. I mean, I'm just persistent. I always make the joke that, and this is the honest truth, I started in the business the first working day in January, got my first check in April. I called my kids and said, guys, we're going to go out for dinner tonight. Can't be anything very expensive, because my check was $70.50. I don't think that's one of those things you'll never forget.
But it's been going since.
It has. And I mean, it's just a numbers game. I was persistent. Every day I was calling people all day, setting up appointments, getting quotes, going out to see them. And, the first few months it's rough, or it was for me, because I was on my own kind of.
Well.
But, by the end of the first year, I thought, I'm going to be able to do this. By the end of the 3rd year, I kept kicking myself why I wasn't doing this sooner.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and Stephanie, since you're my wife, she knows that we look at a lot of things on Facebook through social media and other stuff like that. And we notice all these new agents, they're all wanting someone to pay for their license, to get their test done, and they want leads provided for them. and they want all this, and they want 150% contract, so the commission, and they want. I think it's just how society has taught people nowadays to think they're entitled to things. But when I started, Rick, when you started, we all fought for every dime we made.
Absolutely.
I mean,
you had to today.
We struggled, and Stephanie's attesting to that. January till April till she got her first paycheck. When I started the business, it took me 6 months before I started making money. It took me a while. It's not get rich quick in this business, and that's so hard to tell people that. But you got to be persistent. You got to continue to do that, and that's what kind of sets us off from everyone else in this business.
Right, and that's why we make it, and without having to be funded by some insurance company that owns you.
Right.
That's the big deal. If a company gives you money to start a business, you will be owned by the company.
Absolutely.
Well, Steph, I know John has used you, and I've called you and asked you questions. You do a lot of the health insurance, group health insurance.
Yes.
Well, tell us the difference in small groups and large groups, and how that works, and the ACA also.
Well, a small group now doesn't have to provide health insurance. In years past, a small group had to go through pretty rigorous underwriting to get quotes and stuff. But now with the ACA in place, a small group doesn't have to answer any health questions if they're fully insured. And, the rates are what they are. And they only have select plans by each of the insurance carriers.
Mm-hmm.
On a large group, and insurance considers a large group 50 or more. So on a large group, their plans are a little more flexible. There's only a group medical questionnaire that's answered by the group administrator, the CEO, depending on how the company's set up. And they have to offer the health insurance to everyone. Everyone doesn't have to take it. And in most cases, they don't have everyone take it. I've never had a group where every person in the group took the insurance unless the company was paying 100%.
Now, if it's a large group, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Stephanie, over 50 employees, they have to provide medical now.
They have to offer medical. They don't
have to offer it, yeah.
Yeah, they have to offer it to everybody that is full-time, or technically 95% of their full-time staff have to be offered medical. And I always say you want to make sure you have it documented that they were offered health insurance, and they either took the health insurance or they declined it, because if the IRS comes in and audits you, you don't want it to be your word against the employee's word that they were offered health insurance. So we always make sure we have a form documenting they were offered health insurance and they've declined it. Then in the file, both in our files and in the group's files, if they're ever audited.
Explain affordability if you're over 50, as far as an employee standpoint of what's the most they can cost them out of their check.
The government considers a full-time employee somebody that works 30 hours a week. So I know traditionally 40 hours has always been a full-time employee, but for the health insurance, it's 30 hours a week. And the most the employee can pay is 9.02% of their income.
So there's a lot of calculations that go into that.
There are a lot of calculations. Most groups will just say our lowest paid employee or lowest paid class of employees make, this amount, and we're going to base it on that. Because if I have had a group or some groups that want to do 9.02% of their income, and that means that their payroll company or their payroll person is having to calculate that every week or every month. Okay. To make sure that they stay in the affordability. So if they're working overtime, it can change that. If their hours are lower for that week, it can change it. But most of the time, they'll just use that lowest paid employee in that class.
And what happens if a group over 50 does not provide health insurance?
If they don't provide health insurance and they're audited, that's the key. If they're audited, we never know when someone's going to be audited, but I've had groups audited. Several groups that have been audited in the past. If they're audited and they don't provide health insurance, the fees can be as high as over $4,000 per employee that goes to the marketplace to get health insurance if the group offers insurance that's not affordable and doesn't meet all the requirements, or $2,900 per employee if they don't offer it at all.
Wow. Well, I have a question for you, and I know group insurance has changed so much over the years, especially since the ACA came out. Is there a certain percentage that an employer has to pay if it is a group over 50, that they have to pay? Is it 25 or is there no minimum they have to pay?
Most insurance carriers, like your Blue Cross and United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, they want the employer to pay a minimum of 50%.
Okay.
But normally when you do that calculation, especially if they have a lot of lower paid employees, the group is going to pay more than that anyway because they're keeping the costs down for the employee.
Well, these are questions that people have. They're doing, buying group insurance, and I think it's a good time to answer those. And many times they don't have someone to reach out to, but there are a lot of different plan designs you can do to help with that.
All these 1, 2, 3s and ABC soups kind of get confusing after a while, don't they, Rick?
The thing is, that's the thing that we get Stephanie involved.
Why you got to
You're not great.
And I'm going to brag on her a little bit. I'm supposed to say good things about her. Remember that. I've seen her go into groups where they'll have a plan that renews in January or February, and it might be September, and she'll look at their census, and it's changed dramatically over the year. They might have lost a couple of older employees, and you just redo the census, and the rates have went down by rerunning the census or changed their renewal date. She's a whiz at this kind of stuff. She knows how to do this and make it work, and there's girls in the office there that they kind of help her on those kind of things. But she's a super at this right here.
Right. I know she answers questions anytime we've called.
Yeah.
And I know she answers questions for you.
Oh, yeah.
We're just dumb insurance agents.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the brain, she's the beauty.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think she may be the brains and the beauty.
Yeah. I'm the bodyguard.
Yeah.
I think you're a lightweight.
There you go. Well, what about, we hear about wraparound medical insurance. Steph, tell us about that.
Well, there's a lot of different ways that people call wraparound plans.
Mm-hmm.
What I consider a true wraparound health plan is where you take a plan with, and I'm just going to use Blue Cross and United Healthcare because that seems to be the ones that I see the most that we're working with on this. But you find the plan that really works well, that the company really likes, then you do a high deductible health plan with that company taking out all the copays and stuff, a high deductible, high out of pocket, then work with another carrier to do a wraparound so they build the base underneath to buy down the deductible, buy down the out of pocket, put in office copays, put in prescription copays, and sometimes we'll save $200, $300, $400 an employee, depending on how rich a plan they want to do.
Well, that's something that actually, if an employer has been in a plan for a while, they really should reach out and let you look at it. And it's just like your home insurance. You need to update it periodically. Your life insurance, you need to update it. Same thing with your health insurance. And maybe reach out to another agent. You may be completely happy, but just get an idea,
I think that's not a bad idea because oftentimes, as a matter of fact, I met with someone this week that's not really upset with their health insurance, but in talking with them, they were like, well, nobody's ever mentioned that. Nobody's ever suggested that this might be a possibility. So we're going to be able to save them some money just because of new things that they weren't aware that were out there.
Right.
Well, Stephanie, I'll say this because I think you kind of preach this. When I'm with you, I hear you say this. 15 agents are going to quote the same products. You have to find the agent that you trust, that's going to be there and do the things that you need, that's got a good support staff, and it's going to kind of, look at what's going to be the best for you. Because a lot of agents don't do that. They write you and then you don't see them again except once a year for renewal, and they send that medical quote to them and say, here's your renewal. There's no options. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. What do I want to do this? And that's where I've seen you're head and shoulders above everyone else in that area.
I just think that every year an agent should do their due diligence, always looking at other options for this employer because we're their worker. We work for them.
That's right.
I mean, yes, we go through the insurance companies, but we work for our clients. So it is our job to make sure that they're getting the best plan at the best rate with the best network that best fits their employees' needs.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that 100%. And I'm going to ask you a personal question. Tell us about how you came to work with me when I first recruited you.
My question would be, why she came to work?
Why she came to work with us, yeah. Why in the world did you go to work with him?
John recruited us to sell Life Insurance Company of Alabama benefits. I had my own office, and I had a couple of other agents working with me. And one of the agents in my office, rest his soul, Wally, knew John from years before. So John came in, called on us. We contracted. We wrote a couple of groups, and then just went back to what we knew, which was selling group health insurance.
And that happens a lot.
I think it does. And I say that oftentimes, if only I had followed through with that, how much more successful I would have been even quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But then didn't sell anything. And one day I was in a meeting with Wally, sitting in his office, and my cell phone rang, and I looked down and I went, Wally, what does John Smith want? I mean, I answered my phone, and he didn't know I had gotten a divorce. And he was like, why didn't you tell me? And I went, was I supposed to send out postcards and announcements? And then here we are.
Well, there you go.
She was on her way to Nashville. I was on the way to Nashville. We had dinner, and I was going to say the rest is history.
Yeah.
But I remember her closing up her property and casualty with Farmers that she had. That agency said it's the best day of her life. She said the only thing similar between selling car and homeowners insurance and selling the medical and voluntary benefits insurance that we do was the name insurance. It was all night and day difference between the two. But she has been a super agent. She's been a super boss because she's the president of the company. I work for her.
That's probably a good idea.
I mind really well, too, she'll tell you. But she's very knowledgeable about health insurance. I think we're lucky to have her on our team that we use. But she does a great job and is highly thought of in this industry.
Well, and, it's a funny deal that John and I, for folks out there, you don't know this, but John and I have a little business of our own together that we started, and both of us looked at the other one and said, we're going to let Stephanie handle the books.
Absolutely.
John and I have been friends for 30 years. We've been worked with Life Alabama all that time. One of the reasons we're all here right now is that we're over for a meeting about, and that's something you might want to talk about just a little bit because it's a secondary medical. And tell us about that.
The secondary medical that we're going to look at tomorrow is exactly where
Kind of like a wrap.
the wraparound plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it will buy down the deductibles and stuff. And I think in the near future, we'll do another podcast. I think you all have the person that's in charge of that particular company going to tell you a lot more about his plans.
Right. Well,
there's several companies out there that do this, and it's a phenomenal idea and saves you a lot of money.
Well, what I can say about this one, and we've done business with them for a number of years, is that it's similar to a self-insured
Somewhat.
secondary, and so there are often funds that go back to the employer at the end of the year. And that's a fantastic way to save money and put more benefits in, and you haven't spent more money.
Right.
So
We'll say that for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, again, look us up, groupagenttraining.com. Go to our Facebook page. Go to YouTube. Watch our videos. Subscribe. You'll see these other ones that we're doing for our podcast. Stephanie, wonderful to have you on our show. Rick,
thanks for being here, Steph.
she's a trooper.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do this, but she did a great job.
Yeah, you did.
Probably one of the best we've had on the show. Yep. Well, guys and gals, thank you out there in TV land, as we're going to call it. We'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Goodbye.